Welcome. I'm Michael Bickert. Thanks for joining me today as we explore concepts with the objective of improving your management skills and growing your business. At the beginning of each and every video, I like to remind you to grab a notepad and a pen so that you can make a commitment to yourself that you'll jot down some action item that you can implement in your business today, because it's all about implementation. We're not just killing time here. We're trying to inspire ourselves to drive our businesses forward. So, can you kiss your way to success? Of course, the KISS principle is the notion of keeping it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. There's that line in The Office where Dwight goes, Michael likes to say that, and it's great advice, hurts my feelings every time. Keep it simple. I was thinking the other day about simplifying, and perhaps you're aware of some concepts that I've observed, or rather heard of over time, about very successful people trying to simplify their lives and become more effective as a result of that. And a couple of examples that I think of is one with respect to your wardrobe and what you wear. I've heard it said that Steve Jobs always wore the black mock turtleneck and jeans because it wasn't that important. What he wore was not important. What he wanted to do was free up his mind to make important decisions. So if he just wore the same thing all the time, then he wouldn't have to waste any mental energy on that. And I didn't hear that directly from him, but perhaps you're aware of this anecdote as well. I've heard many people do that. And of course, there are private schools and other types of schools that have uniforms. And it's sort of the same concept there, and there's lots of benefits from wearing the uniform, but it will help the students not have to become preoccupied with, making a fashion statement at school when they could be focused more on education. The other one that is discussed a lot right now in nutritional circles has to do with these restrictive diets, and there's a number of them out there, and I'm not commenting today on the efficacy of any one of them, but there is time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, there's carnivorous diet or carnivore diet, and keto diets, and all of these things, in one way or another, they restrict something. They may restrict the amount of food you eat or the time. They restrict how or when you eat, these kinds of things. But what you'll hear from people who are promoting these, or who have determined that they were successful with one of these nutritional interventions, is that they really enjoyed the fact that it was simple. And it took all the ineffectiveness of worrying about what you're going to eat and how often you had to eat throughout the day and that kind of thing. It took that away, and they became more focused. Now, many of them will report that they had a greater deal of focus based on maybe ketones running their brains and that kind of thing. But I'm really talking today about the simplification aspect of these nutritional interventions and other strategies. Anyway, the other day, I was standing in my closet before getting up for my first appointment of the morning. Rather, I got up, but before the first appointment of the morning, I was getting ready after the shower. I was looking at my clothes and what was I going to wear. And I found my mind, as I was sort of staring at the color combinations and everything, started to wander. And I thought, well, this is what they're talking about. This is a bit of a waste of time. So anyway, later that night, I decided to get out and put out the clothes I was going to wear the next day. And I found that it shaved a solid 5 minutes off my morning routine, not having to stand and stare at the clothes and figure out what to wear. So I decided what I should do is I thought about that whole thing about Steve Jobs, and I thought I should put together some kind of tool that will just tell me what to wear. It didn't mean I had to wear, like Steve Jobs, the same thing every day. I could still have a variety, but I could take away any decision making if there was, just sort of like if you had a parent telling you, here's what you're going to wear. When you were a young child, in your youth, you had somebody probably either dressed you or just set out your clothes for you or whatever. And I thought, well, I could save some mental energy if I just knew what I was going to wear. So I started off and decided, I was going to make this into a calendar and just have something tell me the night before what exactly to put out. And it would take no effort at all. So I thought maybe a half an hour or 45 minutes, I could design this in a spreadsheet. And what ended up happening, of course, our company is really good with designing apps, and we have a lot of information technology skills. So I thought, maybe I should design my own app. And I didn't want to go out to our IT team to do this for me. I thought, well, I could learn something for it. So I will create an application that'll do this. And full disclaimer, I haven't finished, because what ended up happening, about 2 hours in, I essentially accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. And the application can tell me exactly what to wear. But I started thinking of all these other things it could do, and these use cases that it would have, the utility for a variety of different things. Anyway, when I tried to keep it simple, what ended up happening was my mind started racing. And so I don't know if I really accomplished the base objective. So I will finish this application. I mean, like I said, it can do the basics of what I wanted, but there's still some work to go. And I may even reach out to people on my IT team to help me make it more robust. It might even be something we can market in the future. Who knows? I'm not disappointed in what my initial objective was and how I ended up going on a little bit of a different path, because I see some benefits in what I was accomplishing there, not the least of which was my own education and learning about the tool that I was using to build the application, and brainstorming more ideas. And that will happen. But simplifying your life is so critical in terms of becoming more successful. And what you can think of, another way to frame it, is the elimination of choice. The fewer choices you have to make, the more simplified your life is, and the more you can dedicate your focus on those things which matter most. And that's what it's all about. So if you have a personality like mine, where you maybe are an idea generator and a visionary, and you're always coming up with the latest and greatest, it's a bit of a liability. It's a great thing to run a company with no shortage of ideas. But as I've mentioned many times before, it can be a little disparaging for your team when you're always coming up with new things and sending them off on a new direction. So you want to be careful and mitigate that by creating a culture where your team knows that they can focus on one or two most important things. And that I've talked about before is what I'm getting at today. Again, you have to bring it back to the most simple and effective strategy for improving yourself and in your business. And when I talk about removing choice as a mechanism or as a path to accomplishing this, think about it. The more choices you have, you just sort of have to now decide how to manage your time and how to prioritize and how much are you going to give to this and that and the other thing. Instead, focus on those things, make a determination of what the most important thing is and focus there. And what I started with my anecdote about my little clothing rotation and scheduling app is that you can remove those things which really aren't that important. And you will find there's a lot of those things that bog you down in the day. Now, I brought up nutrition and fashion or your wardrobe, but there are probably another 10 or 15 or maybe even 100. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to count the little things that sort of occupy mental energy. They become distractions. And when you think about how detrimental a distraction can be when you're in the zone, I guess you're not in the zone if you get a distraction, but let's say you are in the zone and somebody walks into your office, or you get a notification pop up on the screen, it can really distract you. You see, you got one eye on the inbox and you see, oh, there's a email from somebody in particular, whatever. You become distracted. It may take you several minutes to get back into the quote unquote zone. So keep it simple. Try to eliminate things. So the inbox is another great example of where you can do this. You could decide, I am only going to check my email between this time and that time. And if you belong in an organization, you belong to an organization, or you're concerned that your customers or various stakeholders, people may email you who are expecting a quicker response. If you're afraid that's going to cause problems, then you can set up strategies for mitigating that. You can communicate with your people and let them know, hey, I only check my email between this time and that. You could have an autoresponder that said, I get back to my emails between this time. You can really simplify by unsubscribing to a lot of things and setting up automatic forwarding filters. Ask yourself, how often do you forward an email to somebody because there's somebody else in your organization or a different stakeholder related to you who really needs to look after something, but for whatever reason, you're the one that gets the email and you're always forwarding it maybe to a particular manager or something like that. We'll set up a filter to do that for you. Take the time to organize, to keep things simple so that you can focus on what's most important. And it's okay when doing so takes you in another direction and stimulates a new idea. What I try to do when I'm in my most effective practices is I will sort of make a note for an agenda, use some kind of mechanism to discuss with those team members that are going to help you implement your new ideas. I call it like the parking lot, sort of to put something on the back burner. And it's okay if you determine through plotting the practicality and benefits of your ideas that you want to move something to the front. It's okay to do that, but you do that in a very strategic, meaningful, and deliberate manner. You're not doing it just by wherever your mind goes, because your mind can go all over the place. Keep it simple, stupid. Another thing you may be familiar with is the concept of creating little habits that, lead to great discipline and lead to outcomes that you desire. And really, this is an imperative when it comes to keeping things simple, is that you begin with the end in mind and you ascertain, well, what do you want? Who do you want to become? What does that look like? And then those are the things that you prioritize. You put those things into small little habits. Like it may be that sleep is really important to you. It may be that your health is really important to you. So your nutrition and maybe your exercise routine, these types of things. What you want to do is make sure that you form these habits and prioritize those things by making them the first things that you do in a day, so that you're not doing them in your spare time. And these little habits, like the thing I said about this app that I created for clothing, so it's not going to be a distraction for me and not going to take away of any of my drain on any of my mental energy, is born of the concept that you only have so much willpower. You only have so much mental energy that you can expend in a day before you become, I don't know, you kind of, if they measured it, your willpower, your energy would probably drop off a cliff kind of thing on a graph, where you just all of a sudden, you've been there if you think about it, where you're working away, and then eventually it's like, I just don't have any more. That's all the attention I can give to this. And did you expend some energy on something that wasn't important? With my clothing app, I came up with 3 weeks worth of clothing, 3 weeks worth of outfits, so 21 outfits, and I can get it to give me a rotation in a calendar, so I don't have to think whatsoever, and I won't have to go back to another outfit for 3 weeks. And it doesn't matter if you take this kind of advice and you do that, or if you simplify your nutrition. I eat very few things. Actually, I don't have, a great deal of variety. And, some people probably think that's a really important thing, but my health hasn't suffered as a result of it. And my effectiveness in terms of, my effectiveness in terms of business and relationships in other areas of my life have been positively affected by keeping it simple in my nutrition. But also, there's a sense of contentedness. I've talked to people close to me about what I eat, and they'll think, wow, that's kind of boring. You seem to eat a lot of the same things over and over. But I make sure they're really nutritious and healthy choices, and that they're enjoyable. And I quite enjoy my meals, and I enjoy sort of the ritual surrounding it. I do the same things in these routines. What ends up happening is I become very disciplined, and it doesn't require a lot of mental energy. So I don't miss workouts. All of these kind of things, I look for the minimum effective dose. What can I do to get the maximum results, get the results I want without putting in too much? These are all about eliminating things that can be distractions, eliminating things that can bog down your mind so that you can keep it simple and be more effective by focusing on those things that matter most. So we have that video where we talk about putting first things first and the tyranny of the urgent. And in that, I recommend that you do the homework of logging and journaling what you do in a day, and then using the quadrants of whether it was urgent and important, urgent, not important, and so on, and logging just everything you possibly can. Doing this will also help you to figure out not just what the unimportant things are, but all the little things that become distractions for you. And then you can organize those. You can't just necessarily eliminate them, just sort of one clean sweep and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. It may take a little bit of preparation. Like, you have to get dressed. Well, what are you going to wear? Maybe you're not going to wear the same thing every single day. So you may have to take a little bit of time, a few hours, to put together something to make it so that's no longer an area that requires any mental energy. And I know I'm using what seems like some pretty benign examples, like who cares what you wear in a day, or, maybe nutrition you would think of as being much more serious, but the same concept applies. You can do this, and I gave the example of the inbox as well. We could go on and on and on and give more and more examples. I want you to think about this. Are you keeping it simple by eliminating those things which are distractions? Do you have a mechanism when something may be important that you can put it aside, but it won't be lost? And those things that drain your mental energy, those things that, they're kind of necessary evils that you have to get through a day with. That's kind of the concept I wanted to discuss with you today, and I want to leave it at that. But I'm curious from you if you could leave a comment and let me know, what things have you done? What aspects of your life have you been able to simplify? And do you believe in becoming more effective through the KISS principle? We need to learn from one another. Perpetual refinement.